Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Message Show. My name's Joe LaGiglia, and on this episode, we're talking to the world-famous Frank and Denise LaGiglia, aka my mom and dad, during the Gratitude Series. Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Message Show. My name's Joe LaGiglia, and on this episode, we're continuing our Gratitude Series with my special guests, my mom and dad, Frank and Denise LaGiglia. Mom and Dad, finally, welcome to the Mortgage Message Show. How are you?
Great, Joe. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I so appreciate you guys be willing to be on this show. I know that there's so much things we're going to talk about here. We're going to kind of just let it be led to what we're going to speak about. But this is talking about Thanksgiving. And this show, this series in the month of November is talking about what I'm thankful for and highlighting the people in my life that have meant the world to me. On last week's episode, had the opportunity to highlight my better half, Candace, and could not help but to have the next guest be the two of you guys. So absolutely. I want to start out by saying and really kind of get an introduction to my audience and just have you guys take an opportunity each to just share kind of what Thanksgiving means to you, means to our family, and kind of start there.
The first thing I think of when you say that is a quote I heard years ago by I want to say 12th or 13th century mystic named Meister Eckhart, who said, if the only prayer you ever speak is thank you, it would be enough.
Wow.
So Thanksgiving, I think, has a great importance, that we're grateful. Look, we have this gratitude sign over here in our house, and just to remember always to mark those things that, you know, are important and grateful. You're grateful for, because there's a lot of hard stuff too, and it kind of helps you, you know, keep a balance and not go down a chute. Thanksgiving is always a lovely holiday. You know, I like turkey. Right. I like all the fixings, right. And it's such a great day because you really have nothing else you have to be doing, like, you know, passing out presents and getting the tree ready or anything like that. It's just gather around the table and tell stories of what you're grateful for and enjoy one another.
We've always shared that, and I always say when people ask me what's your favorite holiday, it's that reason that I give them, is that Thanksgiving is really just about being thankful, and it's a great message that you share. Dad, how about you?
Well, Thanksgiving was always a kind of a benchmark in the year for me. It was right in the middle of the harvest season as far as my hunting and stuff like that goes. I really enjoyed thinking about what was I going to add to the table this year. You know, pheasants, quail, waterfowl, deer, you know, whatever. That was always exciting. Just complimenting, not overshadowing the traditional stuff, but just complimenting it. I thought that was fun. But it was always a period I looked forward to because it was rest. It was rest and just enjoying all the blessings and all the love from the family as it grew and grew and grew and grew.
It certainly has grown. Yeah.
So and it was a kind of a springboard into what was always a very busy time for me, whether I was in public accounting or I was working in private industry. That big push toward the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanksgiving has always been a very special holiday for our family, and to both of your accounts, it's a memory that I cherish as a child, as exactly what you both described, as just such a time to be thankful. And as Dad, you did a great job of describing. It's been amazing to count the ways to be thankful with the growth of our family. And I would love just to have you guys share as far as the growth of that family. Where do we stand these days as far as kids, grandkids, all that good stuff?
Well, we are at 29, but then if you add, well, you know, spouses or significant others, we're probably about up to 33.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So
just from you two down, that's incredible.
Just from us,
yeah,
right.
It's so amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
For me, these last 10 years have been just some of the best of my life, and so much of that has come from growing closer with you guys. And it's been a journey to get to this point of being able to have that experience of family that you guys have obviously had for so long. But I want to kind of jump off the interview and jump to the point to where right before the blessings of these last 10 years, there was a very difficult time in my life, getting through the recession and working through those years of what I tell people when I talk about it, kind of my first punch in the gut of life, so to speak, of where things didn't come easy, so to speak. And I have to say this for the record, but you guys have, I reflect on that time so much because that period of my life, you two never faltered to support, to be there, to jump at the opportunity to make sure that that things were okay. And it was the springboard, I feel, and I want to say thank you for the springboard for what was to come, which has been the blessing of the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. From your perspective as parents and grandparents, just kind of talk about, if you can, about that perspective of getting through that period of time and staying thankful.
Well, for me, as the father, so to speak, husband, father, grandfather, it was a scary time. I could see that it was really important that everybody was dealing with what was going on in a sane and responsible and really Christian way. And fortunately, everybody did. They gave us an opportunity to help in all kinds of ways. And we did it giving thanksgiving and praise to God and Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And I think, you know, I don't know the scriptures that well, but I do know this, that God is always there for us. Jesus is always there for us, and he's helped. I've evolved because of you and your brother and the rest of the family who've become believers and stuff like that. And it's added a lot more to my life and what I'm looking forward to in the future.
Amen. I think the verse that came to me while you were talking was just having the faith of a mustard seed that we were going to get through it. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's what that you guys shared for us. And sometimes I felt as though you had the faith when we didn't, and it was really so critical to getting through that period.
One other thing I want to mention about that period, I was always focused on the future in terms of your mother and I, and knowing that the only ones that are going to create a future for us is us. You know, there's nothing out there that's going to be helping us other than ourselves. And I saw a lot of people that I was working with, you know, pulling back on their contributions to their 401ks and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going, no way. And I said to myself, I'm going to kick in a little more. And we struggled, there's no question about it. There were, you know, we were back to the generics on the grocery shelves and stuff like that, cutting back on entertainment money or activities, stuff like that. But it worked. Yeah. And things have really worked, especially the last 3 or 4 years.
And I think that's a depiction of the sacrifice that I've always witnessed from the two of you. Always be willing to sacrifice for the greater good, and it's a lesson. And I'll throw this back to Mom, but it's a lesson for me now that I'm a father, I'm a husband, that now at this period of my life, all those lessons that I witnessed, whether from a distance or up close, all of those have now been revealed to me yet again, and it's helped me get through. And it's just so precious, and I'm just so thankful for it. Mom, in the same respect, during that period of time, never a phone call you never answered, never a message you never got back to me, never a shoulder to cry on. From your perspective, just getting through that, as Dad said, just really, as so many families during that time had, just as a family coming together, trying to stay together. What's some of the takeout from that?
First of all, I want to reiterate what you said about holding faith or holding hope. for someone when they can't themselves. And I think that is what we do as, well, certainly as family, but as community. And it's a very, very essential piece of just love one another, you know. I remember that time as hard, for sure. And yet you and I have talked about this. I'm going to get a little emotional, I think. But it probably was a time that really drew us so close together, you and I. So, I mean, there's always two sides of a coin, I guess, you know. And we had opportunities together where I saw you honing skills that weren't bringing you financial gain, but were improving your public speaking skills and your sense of generosity with giving of yourself. And you didn't stop working on yourself, I guess I want to say, even though it was so hard. And that was very edifying and positive. And I really do cherish that time, as hard as it was. And hard as it was to see you losing things of yours that, you know, you had worked for. And it's kind of a both and kind of time for me.
Well, I think it's a great memory that you bring to the surface, because I think about it as well and reflect on it, that when there is trials, because there's always trials, and you know, we have different levels of trials, but there's always trials, and looking back at that time, that was a very big one. But you're absolutely right that was a time where you guys definitely kept me looking forward. And looking back at it, because you can always connect the dots backwards, so many skills that are relevant today, so much of the muscle, I call it, that was built during that time to overcome the adversity has completely played into this incredible moment, and the abundance, and being prepared for the abundance, right? And being willing to receive it, of what we're having here today. And I think it's a great message, fast forwarding, and what the hope is from this video is for families who are going through the same thing to be able to share in the truth that adversity can bring growth. Some of the things that I just reflect on when I think about being thankful for the two of you is just so much of the love that you've brought unconditionally. So much of the love that you brought to this family, the pillars that you've been in this family, the foundation that you've always had, as Dad says, you know, always stayed consistent with the plan, never faltered, and stay the course, as he says. I would love to know, what are some of the things that you're thankful for? And I guess, Mom, I'll go you first.
Well, family for sure. And I mean, starting with Frank and all the kids, you 5 kids, and then all your spouses and all the grandchildren. I'm certainly thankful for our good health in general, very good health in our whole family. I'm thankful for the shoulders we stand on. You know, both our families were really solid as far as the love they gave us and the love we saw between our parents. Your grandparents. I'm thankful for the gift of music that I have and that I've been able to share for many, many, many years. I'm thankful for life. I love life and for this beautiful world and beautiful earth, and you know, hope we take good care of it. And I could go on and on and on, I guess. But it's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, and Mom, I love that, and I wasn't going to cut you off whatsoever, so I didn't mean to leave you hanging, but I love the fact that so many times when people ask me, you know, where do you get your love for life from, you know, and it's such a direct path to you, and that brightness that you just brought to the room with just sharing what you're thankful for. I'm so grateful for it, Mom, and I'll never get enough of it.
Right.
Absolutely. And Dad, as far as you know, from your perspective, you know, we've really clocked so many hours in this second half of life for me, and it's a joy to have so many memories. And so many more that we're going to make, especially this hunting season as well. and I just would love to hear from you, you know, unfiltered, what are some of the things that you're thankful for?
Well, I'm going to say ditto on everything Mom said. And I think I'm going to add to that some of the things that I grew up with. I'm thankful for the examples I had from my parents, the hardworking, faith-based parents I had. They were always thankful. My dad, he was a very, very faithful, religious person. And he came from that kind of a background as well. It was very interesting. I can remember my dad, or hearing stories in the family about how when my dad and his brother were fighting in World War II, my Uncle Fred over in the European sector and my dad in the Philippines for almost 4 years, my grandmother, no matter what the weather was, she would walk to church and prostrate herself on the altar and pray for her sons. My Sicilian grandmother. It was a big deal. It was just incredible that kind of stuff was there even. And then to hear about the stories were fantastic. Thankful for them both coming home, safe in mind, body, and spirit, so to speak. Even though my dad had to spend some time in Georgia, he had dysentery, jungle rot, and malaria when he came home. My Uncle Fred was better, though. He was in the European sector. But that, my mom, her love of music. She was a piano player, and she had us learning the Irish jig and playing. We were all playing piano by the time we were 4 or 5 years old. It was crazy, maybe 6, and the way she encouraged us and kept us focused. She always used to say to me, she said, "Oh, I feel so bad for you, Frankie." She used to call me Frankie. She says, Frankie. She says, "You never had a childhood. You helped me with all those kids. You were the oldest of 7." And I never really understood that when I was younger when she was saying that to me, but I do now. She created a really huge sense of responsibility and accountability. My dad did it. My mother did it in terms of family. My dad did it in forms of family. But he also did it in terms of work ethic. He always improved our lives. He always had, in his mind, the horizon was, we're going to continue to improve and continue to improve. That's what I tried to do. That's how I tried to handle our family, and work through it.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. The other thing I'm thankful for is, a lot of people may, say, so what? But the bottom line, though, is we were blessed with the ability to have parochial education. I had parochial education all the way through college. And it was, I think, a continuous build and rebuild of the foundations of my life. It helped. And then I got, I'll say, I got lucky. I was only out of work for 2 weeks in almost 45 years. That was incredible.
That's incredible to say today.
Yeah.
Well, so much of the work ethic side of what you shared, and it's great to hear when you talk about Papa and how that work ethic came down to you and came down to us. And I look at my brothers and sisters, and I've heard it be said before that so many of the outside looking in say, man, all of you guys are workhorses. All of you guys, you just go for it every time. And I know it comes from somewhere. And certainly we watched you day in and day out, just really never faltering from providing and never faltering from showing up. And I think looking at both of those responses, it's great to share with you that there's a passion, and I know I speak for my brothers and sisters, but there's a passion to honor the two of you, to honor you with our lives, how we lead our lives, how we raise our kids, how we treat our spouses. There's a passion to honor the two of you because of what you guys have shown us as far as never giving up. And I'd be remiss if I just didn't say thank you for that, for never giving up on us, never giving up on each other, never giving up on this family. It's a love that I would never be able to describe. I thank you, and I'm so excited to be able to finally say I had you on the show. Any parting thoughts before we close out the interview?
Yeah, my parting thought is that this effort and this, we call it a show, that you're doing with conjunction with Tom and Nicole, that this continues. I see so much value in this, especially today, and possibly even more so in the future as you know, our world evolves. This is wonderful. We seldom ever miss. I'm going to say we do miss, but we seldom ever miss your presentations, your blogs, your, what do you call this one?
This would just be a video cast.
Video cast, yeah. And it's something we look forward to, you know, really a lot. Like I do, Wheel of Fortune and Family Feud, stuff like that every day.
Absolutely. Well, I know that the first 2 views are always you two, so I appreciate that every time I look at the analytics.
Well, I just would add to that, because I agree with what Frank is saying, but I would just add some of the stuff, most of the stuff, especially when it's oriented toward, mortgages, and it doesn't affect us right now, but it's the uplifting that the program brings, the positivity that it puts out, just the wonderful energy, and that's what my parting thought is: keep doing that, and the world needs it, and you could see how positive it is for so many people, that enter into that program, or whichever the program is, just by their comments and their likes, their loves.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to say one last thing on that.
Absolutely.
Like you and your sibs, don't ever put that beautiful shiny light under a basket.
Amen.
Keep it out there.
Right. Amen.
Yeah.
And
that says it in a nutshell.
It does, and the only way to follow that up is just simply to say that there's so many more stories to share, so we may have to have you back on the show.
That would be fine.
Very
This was
soon.
fun.
Absolutely. And I just can't thank you enough for your time. I can't thank you enough for who you are and who you are in my life, who you are in my kids' lives. And we love you. And the world famous Frank and Denise LaGiglia, thank you for being on the show. And thank you to our amazing viewers and audience. We hope that this has brought you some great inspiration. Thank you for enjoying my parents with me along the way during this interview. And we just hope you guys are staying thankful and making sure to reach out to someone and tell them how grateful you are. We'll see you next week, everybody.